The heavy iron handles of the double doors groaned as they were thrown open, and the freezing midnight air rolled into the grand ballroom of the Obsidian Syndicate like a violent entity. It wasn't the temperature that made my breath hitch, but the suffocating weight of sheer dominance. I stood paralyzed, my fingers twisted tightly in the cheap, scratchy fabric of my uniform dress. Every unprotected woman in the underground territories had been systematically rounded up and dragged here tonight. The marble beneath my worn leather boots felt like solid ice. I had spent the morning scrubbing them. Those women moved like queens, their diamonds catching the light like jagged pieces of ice. And then, his winter gray eyes scanned the line. Dominic Moretti, the undisputed sovereign. He walked past pristine princesses without a single glance, his steps slow, calculated, and lethal. He stopped directly in front of me, forcing the lesser men in the room to lower their heads.
I will take her.
The room erupted into a symphony of shocked whispers. Why would he choose the one girl hiding in the dark? He would protect me from the ghosts of my past, but it came with a price. I belonged completely to the wolf. The grand hall of the Moretti stronghold smelled of expensive Cuban cigar smoke, aged single malt scotch, and something infinitely sharper, the cold, metallic tang of raw dominance. I pressed my back against the cold stone wall, keeping my hands hidden within the folds of my dress. Every single unplaced female under the syndicate's jurisdiction had been gathered in this room, standing in a tense, nervous lineup. The marble floor beneath my feet felt like dry ice, numbing my toes through the thin leather of my scuffed boots. I had spent hours that morning trying to make myself look presentable. Those women were magnificent predators, moving through the crowd with an easy, terrifying confidence. All of it was perfectly coiffed, a stark contrast to my own pale silver strands. "Stand straight, Elena," my sister Natalia hissed out of the corner of her mouth.
For once in your miserable life, do not make our family look weak.
Weak. The word had been branded onto my skin since childhood. In a society ruled by predators, being soft was a death sentence.
He is coming.
The collective breathing of 100 women stopped instantly. The heavy oak doors parted, and Dominic Moretti stepped into the light. He looked like a god carved from glacial stone and shadow. His gray eyes were entirely devoid of warmth, moving over the crowd with a clinical detachment. He walked down the line, ignoring the flashing smiles and the perfume-scented pleas. He didn't stop until his boots were inches from mine.
I will take her.
The room exploded into chaos. Natalia's hand dropped from my shoulder in absolute shock. My father, standing near the VIP balcony, dropped his glass of whiskey, the crystal shattering loudly on the marble floor. Instead, the king of the underworld had just claimed me. The black-armored limousine glided through the rain-slicked streets of Manhattan in absolute silence. Behind the reinforced glass, the world outside was nothing but a blurred, dark memory of the city. I sat as far away from Dominic as the leather seats allowed. my hands pressed between my knees to keep them from shaking. He hadn't looked at me since we left the hall, his gray eyes fixed on a tablet. He typed out encrypted directives to his captains, ignoring the girl who is now his wife. I finally whispered, the question tearing out of my chest before my fear could choke it down.
Why me?
Your father owes the Moretti family $10 million, Elena. He offered your sister Natalia first, thinking I wanted a flashy ornament for my arm. But ornaments are expensive and they talk too much. I need someone who knows how to be quiet. Someone who blends into the background.
I said, a bitter clarity washing over me.
I'm a placeholder.
You are my wife. In this city, that means you are the most protected asset in the territory. But it also means you belong to the throne. You will live in my house. You will wear the jewels I provide. And you will never leave the perimeter without my enforcers behind you.
The limousine pulled up to a massive estate nestled in the cliffs overlooking the Hudson River. It was a fortress of concrete, bulletproof glass, and steel, modern, sterile, and entirely intimidating.
Your old identity is gone. Your father has been paid, your debts are cleared. As far as the public is concerned, Elena Vance died a quiet death in the outer boroughs. You are Elena Moretti now. Try to act like it.
I stepped out into the freezing wind, the fabric of my wedding dress whipping around my ankles. I looked back at the city lights twinkling in the distance. My life of quiet obscurity, my dreams of a normal, peaceful existence were gone. I had been bought by a monster, and the gilded cage had just slammed shut. The private wing of the estate was a masterpiece of cold luxury. Polished marble floors, low-slung leather furniture, and a total absence of personal touches. I was assigned a suite of rooms that connected directly to Dominic's private office. A clear reminder that I was always within arm's reach of his authority. Dominic was a shadow during the day, consumed by a brutal territorial war, with the Russian syndicates that threatened his borders. But he left me in the hands of his most trusted enforcer, Silas Thorne. Silas was a mountain of a man, his face bisected by a wicked scar, his eyes empty of everything but a cold tactical intelligence. One afternoon, as I sat in the sunlit conservatory, a linguistics textbook open on my lap.
You don't talk much, do you?
Silas stood near the glass doors, his hand resting near the concealed holster.
Talking gets people killed in this house, Mrs. Moretti. The Don values silence above all things.
He values control.
They're the same thing.
A flicker of curiosity breaking through his rigid expression.
Most women in your position would be screaming or trying to seduce the guards. You just sit here and read.
I've spent 23 years learning how to survive by being invisible, Silas. Throwing a tantrum doesn't open doors, it just alerts the hunter.
Silas shifted his weight, his stance adjusting slightly. For the first time, his gaze held a microscopic layer of respect.
The Dawn was right about you. You're a dangerous kind of quiet, Elena.
The official wedding ceremony and public vows were over, but the quiet, true beginning of their contractual arrangement unfolded on their third quiet night. Elena sat gently on the edge of the large bed, wearing a soft silver silk nightdress provided for her. The spacious room was dim and peaceful, lit only by the warm, fading glow of the stone fireplace. The connecting door opened softly, and Dominic stepped into the room. He looked relaxed without his formal jacket and tie, his shirt casually unbuttoned at the collar. He paused a short distance away, his expression calm and serious.
What's on your mind?
Dominic looked toward her, his tone steady and sincere.
We've made this formal arrangement for the stability of the family. This union is built on trust and responsibility, not fleeting emotion. I prefer to keep things clear between us so neither of us gets confused.
His straightforward honesty should have felt cold, but Elena found herself respecting his candor. She stood slowly and stepped closer to him, in meeting his calm gaze without hesitation.
I understand. We both have a role to fulfill here. I won't let emotion cloud what we've agreed upon.
Dominic studied her quietly, a faint, thoughtful look in his eyes.
You're more grounded than I expected.
In the warm firelight, the tension between them was not passionate or intense. It was a quiet, careful understanding. Two strangers bound by a formal agreement, choosing to respect one another and move forward steadily. The night passed in gentle stillness, marking the quiet start of their new life together, built on mutual respect and shared responsibility. The monthly routine was established with clinical efficiency. Dominic would visit my bed only in the dark, always blindfolded, performing his duty with a consuming passion that left no room for spoken words. During the day, he reverted to the cold, distant sovereign who barely acknowledged my presence at the breakfast table. But the walls of his fortress couldn't keep the city's poison out forever. It happened on a Tuesday, while Dominic was in the city finalizing a treaty with the European families. I was in the library with Leo, Dominic's 5-year-old nephew and heir, whom I had taken to tutoring in languages. The boy was a sweet, fragile thing, terrified of his uncle's world, but fiercely attached to me. A sudden, sharp pop echoed from the courtyard, followed by the shattering of glass downstairs. Alarms blared through the house, a high-pitched, deafening scream.
Sloane, stay behind me. The perimeter has been breached. Russians.
Before we could move toward the safe room, the library doors were kicked open. Two men in black tactical gear flooded the space. Silas engaged them instantly, but a third attacker slipped through the crossfire, his rifle aimed directly at Leo. I didn't think. I didn't weigh the value of my own life against the family debt. I launched myself across the room, throwing my body over the small boy just as the gun discharged. The first bullet tore into my shoulder, a white-hot agony that ripped a scream from my throat. The second hit my side. The third struck my chest, the impact knocking the air from my lungs and sending me crashing onto the expensive Persian rug, pinning the child beneath my weight. The world turned a violent, blinding red. But through the haze of blood, I felt the boy's frantic chest rising and falling. He was spotless. He was alive.
I've got you. You're safe.
A heavy stillness settled over the grand hall after the sudden commotion. The room felt tense and quiet. The large oak doors swung open, and Dominic Moretti hurried into the hall, dropping quickly to his knees beside me. He paid no mind to the crowd. His gaze was fixed on me. His steady gray eyes held only unmasked worry and fear. Staff rushed forward to help, but Dominic gently held them back, his voice thick with urgency and concern.
Help her. Do everything you can. She means everything to me.
I was carefully lifted onto a stretcher, my vision growing soft and blurred. The last thing I felt before drifting away was the warm, tight hold of his hand, refusing to leave my side. I woke 3 days later in the estate's quiet private medical suite, the soft, steady beep of a monitor filling the room. Dominic sat beside my bed, his head resting in his hand. He looked worn and exhausted from days of waiting.
You're awake.
Leo?
He's safe and unharmed. He's waited outside your door every single day. He keeps saying his brave guardian protected him.
His thumb brushed softly over my wrist, his gaze tender and earnest.
You broke the quiet promise we had, Elena. You were supposed to stay safe and hidden.
He's just a child, Dominic. I couldn't let anything happen to him.
Someone cold would have saved themselves. But you protected my family. Every wall I'd built fell away. I don't see a contract, an agreement, or a deal anymore. I only see you, Elena. Truly see you.
The fallout from the attack was swift and merciless. Dominic didn't just neutralize the threat. He systematically dismantled the Russian syndicate's operations along the East Coast. His fury was a storm that left no survivors. But the external war was nothing compared to the internal betrayal. A month after the shooting, while I was still walking with the cane, Silas Thorne intercepted me in the hallway.
We ran an audit on the security logs from the night of the attack, Sloan. The gate codes were leaked from inside the house.
Who?
Marcus. He's been routing money through shell companies in the Caymans, collaborating with the Russians to stage a coup. He wanted Dominic dead, and he wanted Leo gone so he could inherit the throne.
The realization was a cold stone in my stomach. I brought the data directly to Dominic's office. He sat behind the massive mahogany desk, his face turning to granite as he read through the linguistic inconsistencies.
Bring Marcus in, but do not alert him. Tell him I need his expertise on the European expansion.
An hour later, I sat hidden in the adjacent library, the door left ajar so I could witness the confrontation. Marcus walked in, his suit slightly rumpled, a forced smile on his kind face. He looked like an ordinary accountant, not a monster who had sanctioned the execution of his own nephew. Dominic played him with surgical precision until Marcus broke, his mask falling away to reveal raw, terrified guilt.
It was just a little money, Lorenzo. They forced me. They said they'd ruin me unless I gave them the security rotations. I didn't know they were going to try to kill the boy, I swear.
You sold the safety of my house for a percentage of the docks, Marcus. You held my nephew at his baptism, and you signed his death warrant. In this family, that is a debt that can only be paid in one currency.
Marcus was led away by the guards, his screams for mercy echoing through the vast, cold rooms.
Please, mercy, brother, please.
I stepped out from the library, my hands over my mouth. The reality of this brutal world crashing down. Dominic remained at the window, a statue carved from pure, unadulterated fury.
What will you do to him?
He will be taken to a secure facility. He will write down every contact he gave the Russians. He will be exiled, stripped of the Moretti name, and he will never see his son again.
I stared at his back, a profound realization softening my fear.
You showed him mercy.
Mercy is a luxury I cannot often afford, but children should not be orphans. It is a lesson I learned too well when my own parents were taken.
I walked across the floor, stopping an arm's length away from him.
A true monster would have killed Marcus. You chose the harder path. That is strength.
You are the most infuriating woman I have ever met, Elena.
He reached out, his hand cupping my jaw, his thumb stroking my cheekbone with reverence. The space between us shrank, the air turning thick and electric. I didn't pull away. I had chosen my side in the shades of gray, and his arms were the only sanctuary left. 6 months after the fall of the internal traders, the Obsidian Club reopened its doors. The crystal chandeliers still cast dancing shadows across the polished marble, but the energy beneath the base had changed completely. Fear had been replaced by a heavy, unyielding respect. I walked through the VIP section not as a ghost in a uniform, but as the queen of the territory. I wore a gown of midnight blue silk and a matching platinum necklace that sparkled like cold fire. Dominic sat at the center table, breaking bread with his remaining captains, commanding the entire room. He reached across the table, his fingers interlacing with mine with an easy, public familiarity. He looked up as I approached, his winter gray eyes softening into an expression of profound devotion.
What are you thinking about, my love?
Just thinking about how different things might have been if I hadn't scrawled that note.
I looked toward the lounge where Leo was currently laughing, safe under the watchful eyes of Silas Thorne. Dominic followed my gaze, his jaw softening completely.
Different, but not better. Sometimes the most violent paths lead us exactly where we need to be.
He pulled my hand up, pressing a lingering kiss against my knuckles.
No regret, Elena?
no regrets.
I smiled down at the man who helped me find the courage to reclaim my voice and my identity. Together, we were writing a new chapter for the city, one where old enemies became allies, where a shy waitress and a reluctant crime boss could find redemption in each other's arms. The transformation of the Moretti Syndicate was a masterclass in modern power. Under my influence and Dominic's strength, we shifted the organization away from crude extortion and into legitimate real estate and community infrastructure. We built medical facilities for the outer boroughs and created safe houses for the vulnerable shifters who had been discarded by the traditional packs. The other crime families didn't challenge us. They couldn't. They knew that the silver-haired woman standing beside his throne was the strategist who mapped his targets.
You've won them over. The captains don't look at you as an outsider anymore. They look at you as the crown.
I didn't win anything, Silas. We simply recognized each other in a crowded, dangerous room. Two people who understood what it meant to be fundamentally alone, and who finally learned the value of being truly seen.
Strong arms wrapped around my waist from behind, and the familiar, intoxicating scent of cedar and snow enveloped me.
The council meeting is over. Come inside. The city can wait for tomorrow.
The scars of our past winters were still there, etched into our skin and our memories. But they were no longer badges of shame. They were the battle wounds of survivors. In her place stood Elena Moretti, victorious, whole, and completely invincible. I had proven that the strongest heart isn't the one that pulls the trigger.
I'm right behind you, Lorenzo.
The long winter was finally over, and the dawn was ours.